So,
Joe's great. I worked with her many.
so it's a 1951 school with really population.
Oh,
Quite different in school.
it is. Smells like kids.
It's like, oh, so, turn it up. So,
There. Oh, there's one right next to Mary. That's yours. I thought.
I've got it.
All right.
Hi, Amanda. I have, nope, I have a packet in there.
They line up for us.
You know, for the park.
Lots of public comment.
All right. So you guys can start whenever.
Oh, yes. Yeah, she was there. Yeah, they were, it was fun. The principal, I forget her name.
We're already. Oh, it's okay.
I think she was.
Bridget, I grabbed the one that was here, so, but I didn't.
Here's one with a paper clip.
I think the principal is new from last year.
Oh,
There was a lot of changes.
yeah.
A lot of changes.
Well, Mr. Baker was there a while back. And they just used
And I feel like I can't see our
That's always.
Yes.
Very.
yeah, she was really good. She introduced all the kids. Okay. Are we okay to start, Bridget?
Yeah, they said you're ready whenever.
Oh, okay, thank you, I missed that. All right, I'm going to call the meeting of the Meridian Township Park Commission for March 12th, 2024 to order at 4:30. Do roll call, Commissioner Stevens,
I'm here.
Commissioner McDonald,
Here.
Commissioner Lick,
Here.
and Ferris, Commissioner Ferris is here, and Commissioner Van Antwerp has an excused absence. And Courtney, Director, Courtney is present.
Present, sorry.
That's okay. Whatever you meant to say. And our Administrative Assistant, Bridget Cannon. All I hear but Amy. All right, agenda item number 3. Do I have, are there any additions to the agenda that anyone would like to make? Yes, Director Lindsay.
Chair, can we add, in your packet, we added in Central Park Pavilion updates for renovations. Can we have that at Director's Report as well?
Yes. Okay, any other changes, corrections, additions?
No.
No? All right. Is there a motion?
A motion to approve the agenda?
So, yeah.
Second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, no. Seeing no no's, that passes unanimously. And I'm seeing we have no public comment for now. So we are on to agenda item number 5, approval of the minutes. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes they'd like to make?
I do not.
I'll support the place on file.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All opposed, no. Hearing no no's, that passes unanimously. We are moving right along here. Okay, agenda item number 6, communications. Director Rosinski?
Thank you, Chair. We have 2 calendars for communications for our stewardship program as well as our Snell Tower Rec Center programs. In the attachments, I'll just mention, you can read through the activities. That stewardship, we're getting ready, it is time. Emma has hired 2 seasonal staff, and we're hoping to get approval to hire another seasonal staff to move through all the stewardship programs for this summer. And at Snell, continuing similar programming. However, some good news is that Alex, who is our intern running programming at Snell, has stated that we have almost 8 to 10 regularly attending now drop-ins.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so the word's getting out. We're working with our communications team to do some outreach in that area as well, both on Facebook, but also potentially some yard signs and some signs in front of both entrances into the park and to the rec center.
Is it affected by weather at all, or does he know what the difference might be?
I think weather certainly plays a part, and I think it's just really awareness. So I think, it had been closed for a while, so people didn't recognize it was open. So we're trying to make sure that they understand that it's open and be more inviting. We did order a neon open sign so that people can see. And then we have the new park sign was installed, both the park and the rec center. So I think that helps as well.
Great.
Do you have any questions?
I guess-
for Director Wazinski?
Relative to the calendars of our Snell Center, I'd like to say that at the MRPA conference, both Courtney and I independently signed up to visit the Portage Senior Center. And it's very impressively managed and very, very impressively attended. And it does have 2 pickleball courts inside. And it's complex to think of Portage and think of Meridian. They're not interchangeable. So having said that, I asked the director, the $12 million facility, what would her guesstimate be for it today? And it'd be 16 million. I imagine, because I don't do much of this, you could go to the City of Portage Recreation Department or Senior Center and see the floor plan, for example. Their citizens are very, very appreciative of it. And I believe they were the city was quite open in acknowledging some major donors of quite a, I don't know if it was
They
$1
have
million.
those in that area.
I don't know if they were $1 million, but they were close. And again, sort of for the record, and I'm done, they took, how would I put it? They took a large donation for the naming rights to the senior center. And again, without going into detail, if we were to do something like that long after I'm dead, gone 10 years or so, we both learned a lot about what to do and not do when you're getting a big amount of money for naming rights, because one example was the donors have the right to review. Courtney, could you fill in the blank, the next, like additions or
I
whatever?
believe they have the rights to any changes in
Right.
additions at that center, yeah.
So once that document was signed, no harm in the sense of anything wrong, but it's something I had not thought of at all.
That is interesting. Sounds like it was good timing, though, to make that visit.
Yeah.
It's a good community to compare ourselves to if we're going to do that, or strive to be some of the programming that they do. And although it's a pretty affluent community too, though, there's a lot of corporate folks that
It has some,
are
it
there.
has some elements of Pfizer
Yeah.
in it. And even though I don't know if they donated, the downtown of Kalamazoo is not too overcrowded with hopping businesses, but one of the businesses is Stryker, the Stryker, which is right there in me. They make hips and knees and shoulders, and they're booming,
Yeah, very much so.
as is Pfizer.
Started to sound like a song there.
I could go into,
Knees and heads, shoulders, knees and heads.
we were in the big city by Merle Haggard, but that's,
Well, it sounded like good timing to do back then.
It's a great community, though. I do a lot of work down there with Portage.
and they've had kind of an all-star list of folks that have gone on to other things, one of whom is Kendall Klingel Smith, and I did not know he started there, and he's now the director of also a very affluent community, Petoskey, and he has to juggle a lot of things in his role as Petoskey director.
Any other comments or questions for Director Wazinski?
No.
No? Okay, with that, is there a motion to accept the
Placement
placement
of-
file?
A second.
All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. So, Director Wazinski, Director's report.
Thank you, Chair.
A lot of good things on this.
There is some fun things. It's, spring is fun in Parks and Rec. I was telling Luann today that things are getting busy. It's a lot of fun around there. So just one thing to mention, we do have for the Township Joint Commissions meeting on March 26th, the end of the month. So that's where all the commissions and/or boards come together and share all the things that that they're doing or plan to do, which is always nice to hear what everybody else is doing. Any questions on that?
No question, just a comment that there may be less attendance due to it being spring break
Oh,
for Okemos schools.
It is spring break, yeah.
Yeah, so,
that's a good point.
yeah, so I will not be in attendance, and it's not because I don't want to be.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Hard to juggle all the different spring breaks.
yeah.
Any other questions on Joint Commission? Nope. Then let's talk about Marshall Park Playground updates. I put together a memo here that I won't read, but in essence, the Parks Department and Park Commission was guided by the board, the Township Board, to install a new play structure at Marshall Park, which is our most northern park coming into the township. And they appropriated $150,000 in general funds for us to be able to do that. We reached out to 3 separate vendors that have been used multiple times in the past in Meridian Township, one relatively new, and asked for concept plans as well as pricing, given some of the direction that we wanted to make sure we were ADA compliant and as inclusive as possible. And making sure that, the play structure itself can accommodate multiple ages, multiple people, and be as inclusive as possible. So with that, we received 3 different concept plans from Sinclair Recreation, Pinchura LLC, and Miracle Recreation. And the concept plans, the fee and installation schedules were shared with Park Commission via email as well as printed and in the service center at the Parks Department for a week, so that everybody had an opportunity, if wanted, to provide comment on those. With that, with the comments, Chair Ferris had decided and recommended that we go with Sinclair Recreation. I guess I was going to say why you did, but maybe I could pass that back to whomever had what the main amenities that you liked.
I think when the comments that came in to you, so some of them, it seemed that Sinclair's proposal was the better proposal or better fit for our community. It tended to be more inclusive. I don't have my notes in front of me, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I called you out.
It tended to be more inclusive as opposed to, it can be ADA compliant, you can actually transfer yourself over to a platform, but a preference is to have a ramp from the ground up. So the Sinclair option did that. They also had, I thought, better price points. It looked to be, it also had shade structures. It had a lot of things that we had talked about as a commission for wanting to incorporate there. It seemed more compatible with our current existing structure that's there, although I do understand that that structure has been evaluated now and doesn't have the longevity we were hoping it might have because of some of the elements that have been painted, repainted, and doesn't have the strength of that were being moved. So it's a matter of time before that particular structure will need to come down. But still, at this point, it seemed that it would be a nice compatible structure. I'm trying to think. Can you think of anything else?
I would, thank you for that. I would point out that, that the Sinclair proposal includes Meridian Township Parks to be included in what they call a national demonstration site. And what that is there's a national nonprofit that is providing research as well as guidance and promotion on certain play structures that you purchase from Sinclair. And there's different components that are included in there, but because working with Mr. Sinclair, he understood all of the components and making sure that we added those components in here so we are eligible for the NDS site. What else that can do, Bridget, would you mind? I think we got to go down.
I think it makes for a stronger partnership too, because that's what we've talked about before. I know Mike and I met with some residents regarding doing better throughout the township. And having that partnership, that's something that I think would only strengthen us to continue to have people that we could reach out to comment on things like that.
Yes, yes. And what's great is you can see here the different components. So the ramp, as you go up the ramp, it gets you at least to one slide, and then there's two what we call inclusive activities. There's a spinners kind of in the middle around the grate where you can do different activities for tactile. And to the left, almost around the corner, you can see the two little green circles. Those are drums, so some auditory. In addition, there's two extra amenities that kind of feel like they're sitting far out. There's a green chair to your right, and that chair is you can transfer easily from any type of wheelchair or any other mobile assistance. And it also works for some folks that might have sensory concerns about being in large groups or being where it's very loud. So it gives an opportunity to still be able to play, but play from a safe distance. And in the middle top, there's also another inclusive play up there. Again, gives a little bit of shade. You can climb around on it or sit in it, but it gives an opportunity to play with multiple children in one, location further away from the structure itself. Another thing just to point out is that we did ask for and are going to install turf grass with this particular project.
Nice.
And so that certainly makes it ADA compliant. You can use some particular wood chips that are manufactured specifically for ADA, but it's truly not as easy to roll on something smooth. So this will be our
It's your
first.
staff's preference too, right? I
It
think that was one of the
is.
comments that they had made.
It is. The facilities do a lot of work in the spring to make sure all of our play structures have the appropriate amount of wood chips under them so that they're safe. And you can imagine they get moved out of the surroundings, or sometimes we have flooding and they flood away. So it's a really large task for them to make sure that the safety of our play structures are always, every day, up to par. So this, there is some maintenance to turf grass. It's manufactured to last between 20 and 25 years. It can be replaced without removing the structure, and it can be repaired. So if, let's say something, I hate to say fire, but let's say something burned, they could cut out a portion and replace it relatively easy. And then there's a type of service that you do every 3 years just to maintain the integrity of that particular.
Is it putting like a sand on it or something like that?
It's like a rubbery type of, material. You kind of sweep it on, and I haven't seen it done yet, but there's another option that's called poured in place, and that's more of a rubber material. However, in Michigan, given our winters and the water, it wasn't recommended, quite honestly, by any of the three vendors for Michigan, as well as it's really difficult to repair.
It's a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it was expensive.
So it's definitely just a blower, clean off in the fall, basically. It's like
Yes.
keeping that, and the substrate will stay inside that grass, and that's what holds it down, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that substrate that they put on it.
Yes, and there is a pad underneath
There
too,
is, okay,
Mr.
okay.
Stevens, yes, and we saw that when Mike and I attended the
MRP.
Trade show.
in parks, yes, the trade show. So I did actually walk on it. It's very nice, very stable, yet you can feel the compression.
So when Mike falls, He won't hurt.
Yeah, maybe we could get Mike's.
Well, coincidentally, last Monday when the last time I played pickleball, because I put my racket somewhere and they found it for me, but our crew was out at Hillbrook Park, and I ran into Larry the next day or two, because I stopped by the office and for seeing if anyone could sign a petition. No one was there that lived here. But regardless, Larry said that day they were out testing the compactability of the
site.
of those play swings, et cetera. And there's a calibrated poundage for the weight of someone falling on it safely, if you will.
Nice.
Does that make sense? Is that, I mean, they have a gauge.
Yeah, that's accurate. Yes, I'm not familiar with the exact specifics, but yes. And they monitor it not just in the beginning of spring, but it has to be monitored regularly.
And they take it very seriously, as they do everything. And, you know, if the one at Marshall Park truly is 27 years old, our staff has done an awesome job of maintaining that for 27 years. And a rule of thumb from the federal program that I worked with was 20 years for almost everything, and 20 years for, you know, a parking lot, 20 years for tennis courts, 20 years for, it wasn't, might have come from NRPA, but it was not scientific. And I think that play equipment in the last over 20 years that's used is quite a feat.
Yeah, I agree. And this is really phase one of the improvements to that.
Yes, yes, thank you.
And I see the new signs there, so that's exciting.
Did you see them? Oh,
Every
fantastic.
day.
Oh, that's what we did.
Yeah, they're very nice, nice.
It does catch your eye. And that was another, we talked about the color, like the color kind of matches the branding. I think it'll really pop out there and draw people in. And yes, there is, we did institute a community survey to get more information for additional amenities within the park. So we have that survey and we can talk about that and work on phase two once we have this ready and installed.
Because those are budgeted for, is it 2025 or 2026? I lose track.
They were on the plan for 2026.
2026.
But we can talk about timing if we want to,
Sure.
you know, move that up.
When we talk about the budget.
Yeah.
But it's
exactly.
nice to know it's there. We were planning for this additional amount of money from the township board. It helped infuse this to move it faster. But,
Yeah, absolutely.
So glad to see it going in. And what's the completion date?
So timeline for the structure installation is mid-May.
Nice.
But the turf, that material is going to take longer, so that should be in within 2 to 3 weeks afterwards. And again, they can install that turf around an existing structure. That was a question. And then I did ask, how do we keep the site safe while we're waiting for that turf? And he says it is fenced off so that, you know,
Like a construction
like a
site.
construction site.
It'd still be challenging, I bet, once it's there.
Yeah, so we'll push for turf as fast as possible.
And I had
Yeah, you
a-
don't want those two-year-olds in there, you know, climbing those fences, and, you know, pretty serious.
I know a 5-year-old will.
It's pretty serious.
And it'll be installed, it just won't have the safety
Yeah.
surface. And so the structure itself will be safe.
Any comments or questions for,
certainly I'm happy to say his name is a good friend, in a sidewalk conversation with Parks Chief Olson. Has nothing to do with our project or our bid, but said that Sinclair has installed millions of dollars of play equipment in state parks and recreation areas. And not directly, but I do know the owner, and when he states very firmly two things. One is there will be no cost overruns. And two, they will do everything in their power, which is things they can control, to have this in by the date Courtney mentioned.
good. Commissioner Stevens?
I don't have time.
Commissioner Lick?
No comment.
Thank you. I just want to applaud you for how well coordinated and organized this was with you and your staff to make sure that was available so that we could look at it if we wanted to. Because sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm doing it from here,
Yeah.
you know, it gets a little bit tricky. And I just really appreciate that because I think that helps a lot.
Thank you, thank you.
Your first major one,
I was
right?
gonna say, right out of the,
Right out of the chopping block, right? I mean, no, what would it be?
Starting
Right out,
blocks.
that, starting blocks, not chopping blocks, that's not it. That's not
Not
it.
yet, we'll see, come June.
Water
it's off to a
Yeah,
great
that's
start.
Yes.
We have great staff, for sure.
Okay,
Chair, Katie, who's coming from the Harris Nature Center, is running late from an
Sure.
appointment, so I couldn't
just
move
juggle
around. if that's
accordingly,
okay.
yeah, absolutely.
So Motion Park, fantastic. The next item we can talk about, included in your packet, recently included in your packet, is the renovations for Central Park Pavilion. So we've had several conversations about this, but wanted to update you that we did issue a request for proposal February 1st. Bids were due February 29th. We issued it as a line item proposal in the event that there wasn't a general contractor, but there was an electrician that could do one thing or not. Prefer a general contractor and all inclusive, but just in the event that that was the case. So we issued it as a line item. In the original RFP, you can see here, most of the, I'll go through kind of what we're thinking. First and foremost, because the building was installed in late 70s, early 80s, the building department, Meridian Township's building department, wanted us to get, for lack of a better word, receive architectural drawings and just make sure that the renovations that we propose won't compromise that structure. Everything appears to look good, everything's, in place, but when you start modifying some of the walls or some of the airflow, that can create some safety hazards. So that'll be the first and foremost, is the architectural drawings for the upgrades. But for the most part, if you haven't been to the pavilion, and I wanted to include a photo, I'm very sorry. The pavilion sits in the municipal parking lot.
The one right
Yep,
there now.
which is actually considered Central Park. And it's, like I said, late 70s, early 80s. It's really still got great bones. It just needs kind of a facelift, and it's used well. It's well used. Bridget does all of our, Katie is here, all of our pavilion rentals, and we have book clubs and flower sales and the 55 plus workout group, so it's well used. They like it that it's somewhat enclosed, because that keeps them be able to, maybe in inclement weather, or even earlier in the spring and later in the fall. So with that, in looking with our facilities staff and our building department, we'd like to replace the T111. It's the wood, the facing the facade. That's the wood facade. It's all, a lot of it is damaged and water damaged. So replace the existing T111, but also wrap it into the interior of the pavilion. Right now it's bare, 2x4s. So looking to maybe get more interest on, we've had requests for graduation parties and potentially doing more weddings at the historical village. Maybe that could be a venue for a small reception. So trying to make it a little more friendly. So wrapping that T111 around, installing 2 sliding barn doors, which would be on the north and south side openings. And what that would do, allow for people to close the door if they'd like, but then keep it open if they want. And that would allow people to have some flexibility with that when we use screens or things like that. Our park staff has to go out.
That's a good point.
And so they have, that all has to be logistics there. So we're looking for that, not to mention it kind of goes with that, the look of the building, right? Replacing the ceiling. It's a tin ceiling, so replacing the ceiling inside and then upgrading with LED lights. Part of probably, it's very dark in there and the lighting is really old. So that's a big, that was a big selling point for us. Like, we want really bright lights. We'll replace all the soffit fascia gutters and downspouts. They're in disrepair, so we'll replace those with upgraded materials. Installation of 2 exterior doors. When I say exterior, it's the style of door, but it's actually inside the pavilion. So there's 2 old voids that we're pretty confident used to be vending machines. So they're not real big openings, but they're just kind of there and they're not painted. So we figured we could install 2 exterior doors and use it as storage for some of our facilities or fields. And then there's one existing door that is, that opens into the utility room that we'll replace as well. It's pretty rusty. In the bathrooms, the men's bathroom currently, to back up one moment, the bathrooms get well used because we have so many sports in that field behind. So in the men's bathroom, there is 2 options, 1 urinal, 1 toilet. In the women's bathroom, there used to be 2 toilets, but as I understand it, 1 toilet was removed to make a little bit more room in that facility. But we plan to, based on use, put the toilet back and then install stalls so that there's more options for people when they're
That will still be ADA compliant, though.
It is currently not ADA compliant, so
Interesting.
that
Even though
might
it's so
come up.
large.
Yes, that might come up, so it might be something we have to talk about if in fact we have to make it ADA compliant. That will be very difficult because of the door width and where it opens, and it's kind of tight once you get inside. So we've had some discussions that if architectural comes back or building comes back, then we'll have to just reconsider that component. We'll paint the interior, and then the concrete's in great shape, but just while we're there to do a little facelift, put in some ceramic tile. Easy to clean, still very rollable. Let's see.
Thought about that epoxy floors or something that you're seeing everywhere now?
We did
They
not
do
discuss
with,
that.
With garage floors and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how commercially they are, but a lot of people say that, you know,
I think
they're
it depends
using
on
that
the
in like
application
garages.
a lot.
What's that?
I think it depends on how well it's applied.
Sure.
Because we've had with the state parks, it could go either way.
Yeah. Have you've had experience with that at state parks?
In the state parks, yeah. And during that time, it was really based on how it was being applied. But I see a lot of great use in garages, so.
Yeah.
And I think people are doing it themselves.
Not that many years ago, the use of a building that would benefit from having the epoxy floor was completely unheard of. 'Cause I had good friends in the engineering section, so when they went to keeping some buildings open later, there were some, whatever you want to call it, trial and error because of moisture conditions and things like that, because most of the DNR's buildings weren't designed to be open 9 months a year. So I think the way things are probably today, that just the general idea of epoxy flooring has probably really improved. And the DNR is using that technology too.
That was kind of my question on the, I forget now what you called it, for the tiles on the walls too, is sometimes depending on how the building is winterized or not, those
Yes.
can tend to pop
fall
off.
off.
So they might want to look at options. Sometimes there are easier ways to do that, and it's, you know, it looks just fine, whether it's painted. If it were a new building, there's a different kind of texture for the concrete or the brick you can use. But we have had, again, depending on how it's maintained, the ceramic tile can be problematic. But there again, maybe the technology's changed, you know, in
Yeah.
the past few years. But,
Thank you for that. We'll certainly,
because this is a design build bid,
correct.
pretty much. Okay.
Yes.
So you have some options.
Yeah, yes, we do, absolutely. Then the other thing is to, at the end, install native landscaping and some grass seed repair that will need to be done. And then the other parts of the proposal included the general conditions, everything you need to do the job. What we did not include was 2 separate services, one being the painting of the exterior components as well as the restrooms and the roofing. And at the time we composed the RFP, we have contractors that we already use to do those 2 services. So we thought, well, we'll leave it out of the RFP to see what the bids come back at. And the bids came back relatively much under our budget that we have for this particular project. So our superintendent wrote an amendment to include the painting and the roof. So it's all under one contractor now.
That's great. Because not everything was coming in. Maybe bids are starting to be more reflective of different costs than what they were a couple years ago.
I feel like it'll never
More
be,
reasonable.
yeah, they're much more reasonable. And then the timing also, I think
Yeah,
it's getting
that's
better.
true. Yeah, good job.
So with all of that, our original proposal was for the upper improvements, 125,000. And then we amended it to include the painting and the roofing replacement for an additional $39,050. So the whole project will be $164,050.
Really great improvement over there.
The other great thing is, this particular contractor, can start immediately and can have it done before our Celebrate Meridian.
Wow.
If the architectural comes back in time and stuff, so really quick, and we're really excited.
That's great.
It is great. Any comments or questions, Commissioner Lick?
So,
Commissioner Stevens?
Well, the only question I had is we were talking about maybe opening that back area up for looking out over the field. Is that something in the plan, or is that what we're gonna see in the architectural design?
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. Yes, that is in the plan. So it is in your first bullet item. So that's the T111, that wood facade, but opening,
Okay.
looking towards the soccer fields.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be, the way it was described, I thought it was gonna be more enclosed than it is now, but
But yes, you're
in
absolutely.
the front.
Yeah.
That's a good clarification.
So I just wanted-
I'm excited to see that open,
Yeah,
to watch
me
some
too,
sports
yeah.
from there, yeah.
And then if we feel that, the airflow is different, we get approval, we do everything, then we can think about like screens on front or something. If we need to do additional improvements, we can do that as well. Thank you for that.
that's great.
I don't think you need anything from us right now. This is for just presentation and discussion.
Yeah.
For approval or any kind of action.
Yes,
Great. Really exciting.
it's fun.
Both of these are fun projects, so. Okay.
And Superintendent Adams is here to talk about our Harris Nature Center.
I went to the wrong building.
Welcome.
I'm so used to going to the service center for this, so then I was like, oh no, where is everybody? Courtney asked me to talk about what we got going on at the Nature Center this spring. Obviously, we're gearing up for camp, but we have a lot of other things going on at the same time. I'm really excited to say that I'm pretty confident the exterior upgrades for the building will finally be complete by the end of this week.
Wow.
We started this last summer. There was a delay in the supply chain for the siding, and so Palmer has been out there working last week and this week, and it's really, that last piece is finally coming together, so hopefully you can stop out and check it out, finally completed. So we have a lot going on, March, April, May. I'm just gonna throw a bunch of things out there. We have our ever popular Wine in the Woods coming up this weekend, which is always a really fun
Sounds really good.
program. Yeah, so it's an adult-only thing. We offer a lot of stuff for kids, so we've started kind of branching out and trying to give some stuff just to the adults too, which would include our Gardening with Native Plants class, which will be next Tuesday, the 19th. That is a class that's always popular every year. That's with Vern Stevens. He comes out and does a presentation, and then it sort of gets people fired up for the native plant sale, which will be the first Saturday in May. So we have that coming up. We're taking pre-orders now, so the pre-order forms are out on the website. People are sending in their orders. It's not required. People can also just come and shop the day of. But we only do pre-orders for our spring sale, and then we'll do another sale with Vern in the fall where we don't do pre-sales. You just come and shop for native plants. So our newest extremely popular program is our Night Out in Nature for kids. And that is, we do that like every 3 to 4 months, kind of a seasonal thing where it's a Friday night, drop your kids off with us. We're gonna feed them. We're gonna do cool things with animals, nature, walks, and that kind of stuff. So that parents can just have a couple of hours to do, I don't know, they can go out to dinner or if they got stuff they need to do. So that's coming up Friday, March 22nd. And then, of course, we have our ongoing Chipmunk Story Time, Dogs After Dark, which used to be called Howl at the Moon, so that's our guided dog walk on Friday nights. And then we have a newer program we're gonna try in April 14th. It's called Nature Photography with a Smartphone. It's an outside instructor. And he works for LCC. He's been doing photography forever. In fact, I'm told that he was our first photography instructor at the Nature Center when the place opened. So he's going to be coming out and doing a class about like just using your phone differently and editing photos and different attachments you can buy to do really cool photos with your smartphone. So a lot of different things going on there. Campfire programs, because 'tis the season. We're going to talk about frogs in April. And then we have our ever famous Nature for Toddlers program coming back in the spring. So that starts April 29th. That's like sort of I guess what used to be called a mommy and me class, but it's really an adult and a toddler coming out and for an hour for 4 weeks in a row every Monday, just to get exposed to nature and do fun stuff. And yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit. We're gonna be at Culver's again with the foundation in May. We're gonna do that 4 times this year, so watch out for that if you're hungry for Culver's one night.
Katie, what's the date in May?
For which one?
What's the date?
May
Culver's?
6th for Culver's, yeah. So lots going on. We're staying pretty busy. Camp registration opened March 1st. And there is at least 50% of the camps are already filled with wait lists. So feeling pretty good about that. There was several filled within that first night, within the first 2 hours after midnight. It's crazy, but we're really excited about that. We're still hiring right now. So we have just hired 2 new staff. We have 1 more spot open. That's for our preschool camp counselor. So we're still looking for 1 more person and hoping to get them in April, so we have time to train before camp starts. So, rocking and rolling.
How exciting. Comments, questions? Commissioner Lick?
Yes, Katie, thank you so much for this presentation. I love all the things that you all do, and I don't get to enjoy them enough. I really do. So we have a senior graduating this year, so I'm hopeful that as the kids start to leave, I can actually get back involved. And the 2 questions for you. One is, what is the age range for the night out in nature? Do you know?
We go up to 12, like 5 to 12. Let me
12.
double check, but I'm pretty sure it's 5 to 12. It's a fairly new program for us, so we're still trying to remember what we decided. It's not on the flyer. 5 to 12 is what
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it is, because that's what we gear it towards.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and they'll come in and we'll eat pizza first, and then we do live animal presentation, nature
Awesome.
walk, and depending on the weather, we might have to fill in with a craft.
Okay.
If it keeps us indoors.
Keep everyone busy, yes. And then the second question I have is for the nature photography with the smartphone. What date is that?
Oh, yes, that's an April class. And that one is April 14th, Sunday, from 1 to 3. So it's a 2-hour class. And that'll include some time in the field with him too. So he'll do a presentation, get everybody familiar with their settings, and then head out on the trail and show you some tips and tricks.
Awesome. Yeah. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to send a picture of your flyer just because I'm excited about doing it tonight. My son's in Virginia, and that's something where they don't have to have $161,000 to do something.
Yeah.
They did send him a picture of the play equipment, and I'm sure he'll say something under his breath down there. But they're having I think it's a weekend in May, they're in honor of a volunteer that has passed away. They're having a birding weekend,
Oh, wow.
and the cost is like $15. And I think a complement to that is learning more, not from the state of Virginia coming up here, but I would think anyone that looks at your flyer and then does some research could improve their nature photography. I know I sure could.
Yeah.
that's him right now swearing at me.
Commissioner Stevens, did you have any comments or questions?
No, but I appreciate you jumping in on that Jennifer Gabrus program that we're gonna be doing.
Oh, I'm very
So,
excited
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
It's been a minute since the Nature Center's been involved with a salmon release
Yeah.
out at Lake Park, and so we're looking forward to that, May 10th.
Yeah, I think it's 10th, yeah, something
Yeah.
like that. But anyway, it's
That's
great,
gonna be a
yeah.
lot
So
of
thank
fun.
you for offering that, because she's got 100 kids and she's bringing them up and we're gonna go
Yeah.
fishing and we're gonna do a bunch of different things there,
I
so,
love that they come this far.
yeah.
I love it, yeah.
I drove past just yesterday, I think, now that the weather's getting nicer and, you know, you tolerate a little bit on the gravel part of Van Atta, but it strikes me that the river has come back into its banks now. Is that how you describe it, Katie?
It's pretty consistent with its level recently. It seems like it's, I don't think it's normal for spring right now, if you ask me, like in previous years.
Sure.
It should be a lot higher, but it's floatable right now. But yeah, I imagine, I hope that we didn't just get all of our rainfall in February and that we're not gonna get it in the spring, but,
Yeah, that would be sad.
it's certainly safer to be in right now, the river, because it's not super high like it normally is this time of year, so.
Yeah, you can see, I think it was the road commission, lots of places has done a lot of, what do you call that, brush hogging. And I just think when you come down the hill going north on Van Atta, it just seems more open looking to me.
Yeah.
And you can look over at the canoe dock
Yeah,
and things like that, and it looks really cool.
Thanks so much for being
Yeah,
here and
no
presenting
problem.
all the exciting things and everything your
waiting
maintenance
for me.
staff is getting out there and doing. It's always great to see you.
We had no
Thank
other
you.
choice.
what's that?
We had no other choice.
Of waiting for me? I appreciate
Kinda
it.
had to be here.
Okay, thank you.
Director Rosinski, anything else to director's report?
I don't believe so.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to land preservation report, Commissioner Stevens.
We do have we did a little talk the last time, and it's come up in the past, and about trading some properties. One of the ones is the Potter parcel that's on Potter Road that we call it Pike Crossing now, or something like that, with the land preservation. And Emma's had a number of encounters with the folks that are there in that neighborhood, and just concerns about the whole area, and they do a lot of mowing, which they probably shouldn't, and there's a little bit of
You like
stuff going
potential
on over there.
trespass?
Yeah, kind of stuff like that, yeah. So, so there, the Land Preservation Advisory Board has asked if the Park Commission would be interested in taking on that property and maybe making it a park, and then it could be mowed and, that kind of thing. And there hasn't been a lot of work that's been done out there. Emma has done some plantings and things, so I don't think that it would be too bad for the area. We wouldn't be destroying a lot of things if that in fact happened, but there could be maybe a play structure that's put there or something like that. And I don't know what the plans are, and that's the committee doesn't know what the plans are for maybe the walk, the trail that's gonna go through there, through somewhere there, and that piece of property had been talked about as well. Originally, that property came to the Park Commission when it was first being sold, and it was very expensive in my history. It was very expensive. The Park Commission wasn't interested in it. So they went to Land Preservation and sold it for like a quarter of what we were, and so the Land Preservation actually bought it, and so.
How large is it?
It's not very large. It's, I don't know the exact size of it. It's probably 3 acres, maybe a little,
smaller,
maybe a little
smallish.
less, maybe 2 acres, something like that. Yeah, but there's some outflow, there's some water in that area along the train tracks there, and pike come from Lake Lansing into that area. and then go across Potter, under Potter, and then go into the wetland that's across the road from that to the, it would be to the east. So, you know, there's the park that we have, that's Lake Lansing Park, you know, the park that's there, that's all cattails, that we have a sign up there and everything. And can we trade for it or something like that? We've had this discussion in the past, and Luann was kind of like, well, it's all park property. I mean, it's all property that we own as a Meridian Township, so whoever manages it, or, you know, it's just, we have to make that decision, so.
I have a question. Where's that located again?
It is just off of Hazlet Road and Potter Road, between Hazlet and Lake Drive. So the lake is to the, yeah, so it is.
To the east of Marsh.
It's to the east of Marsh, yeah. It's like the next road east of Marsh that you can make a left and go to them.
I
Big
just
B.
have no idea where it is, and I
I think
live
it's by
there.
Bigby. Is Potter by Bigby?
It is.
It is.
It's on that stretch.
It's on that stretch.
South of Lake.
Yeah.
Potter
What's
is,
that?
Potter
South of
Street's
Lake
north and
Drive?
south.
It is south of Lake Drive, yes.
Oh, okay.
And it's north of Hazlet Road, so just a
Okay.
small, I think there's about 8 houses that border it.
I can drive by it tonight. It'll be the first time I paid attention to it. And I used to live on Potter Street.
Oh, really?
But,
Well, it's actually Carlton is the street, not Potter.
Oh.
Sorry, Carlton is the street, not
Oh,
Potter.
oh, yeah, that's
We
by
used to
the,
call the Potter property at one time, so
Oh,
that's
got
why.
it.
that's by the railroad tracks.
Yeah, it's right there at
Yeah.
the railroad crossing, yeah, there's a crossing.
yeah, that's what I was thinking it
Yeah,
was.
it's Carlton, not Potter, sorry.
Okay, I was
My
looking
fault,
at-
I threw you guys in the wrong direction. so.
Just
So it's
checking.
past, it's before Lake Drive. It's at the corner of Lake Drive and Carlton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Behind those houses, and
Yeah,
the houses
behind
are the ones that
Those are
are,
the houses that,
Mowing.
yeah, they do some mowing and things like that, and they have for years and years and years and years, and it's very hard to get people to stop doing things that they've been doing for years and years and years.
Like what, dumping leaves in it?
Well, no, like mowing it, you know, when we say we don't want them to mow it.
Got it.
yeah.
But, but that's, you know, people do that stuff. And instead of being, we want to be good neighbors, we don't want to be giving fines out all the time and all the
Yeah.
contentious all the time. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that they asked if we would be interested in doing that. So just throw that out there for you guys. We'll probably talk a little bit about it tomorrow.
Will give us a chance to drive by anyway.
Take a look at it, see what you
And to
think.
walk that area, but it's not seeming familiar right now as far as the play structure.
It gets kind of wet over there, doesn't it?
There's a little, well, yes and no. There is some flooding in there in the spring, but it's not wet where it can't be a park. It could be a park. There is some stuff that needs to come out of there. There's like an old, some old farm equipment. There's like an old building back in there too that might need to be taken out of there for safety purposes. And, but yeah, I think it could be a nice little neighborhood park for somebody originally.
Is there, without it being really costing anything, is there a way other than Google Maps to give the director in the chair a site map of it? Because I'm kind of getting lost again.
We
about
should
that
have
map.
it. We should have it.
There is a map of that, yeah, and I don't know if they've gone as far as doing a stewardship plan on it. Emma's been working there quite a bit, but I don't know if there's officially a stewardship plan for that.
I can check for sure.
Yeah.
The church is here, right?
Yeah.
On my trip down up Van Etta, I noticed a piece of land, Courtney, that is not something that's of interest to us because through Luann, we learned the seller didn't have any intentions of selling it to us, but John Mays mentioned it to me at the conference. There's a beautiful, like, lawn
Yeah,
type.
beautiful, on Van Etta, right?
Yeah, and now it says 5 acres. I think before the sign it said 10, but it's just not, in advance of it ever coming up at your meetings. I just don't think, I don't think the person would sell it to us. And then B, it's non-contiguous to stuff we already have, and that's a real-life Parks and Rec advantage to adding land when you do reduce the amount of boundaries you have. And it's not a good thing usually to buy a piece of land, wing, out nowhere near a park. I was impressed, I don't know, Courtney, Katie, well, neither of you would know when our staff or Emma put up the rules for nature preserves. Because I drove in to look, I kind of like that Ponderosa property. And it's got a trust fund sign, which should stay right where it is, because that's where they told us to put it. And then next to it is I would say it's a really low-key informative sign.
That's what we do with the land preservation.
Are they on is that sign on other pieces?
Yeah,
Or
there are rules for all of our properties. We have some rule signage on them about staying on trails and no bikes allowed. There's only one land preservation that there is a bike path that goes through it, and there's a reason for that. It connects, it's for safety purposes, and we did talk about that quite a bit with land preservation years ago. And it's a main route that's, but those are the types of things that we have out there. We want people to be walking out there and enjoying trails.
It's a nice mix.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, just keep that, take a look at it sometime.
Yes, I think I'd be really curious to do like a site visit as a group and just kind of walk it. There's a couple of homes located on Hazlitt Road where there seems to be a gap.
That's
part of it.
That property comes up to it. In
Okay.
fact, there's a sign there now.
Okay.
Yeah, land preservation sign. big
Yeah.
sign.
Okay, my only concern is that it's really like locked with the homes. There's not a place to like park where you could.
There is a little parking area near the railroad track. There's a little pull-off there.
Oh, right,
Yeah, where
okay.
there's probably enough for like 3 cars.
Okay.
In fact, it's where a lot of the cars of the neighborhood park.
Yeah,
And that's a part of an issue too, people across the street park there. So
right.
If it was a park, then we would probably have to put some constraints on where people could park. And then there would be another thing to be contentious about. So.
Yes. And then
It's a tough piece of property.
It is a tough piece of property. It's not that I'm not saying no to the thought of it or idea. I just think it'd just be a curious place to figure
It's
that
Meridian
out.
Townships, no matter what.
Right,
So,
right.
it's just who maintains it or who,
Yeah.
how
How
it's
is it
been used,
maintained?
what type of use there would be on it.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
And
exactly.
right now, there's no use. I mean, people don't go there for anything.
Right.
I go there and just check out the pike that come in and spawn in the spring.
Mm.
So if you go there now, you'll see some big fish coming up in that area. It's pretty cool to see,
Yeah,
but.
that's really neat.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, no public comments, and we'll go through other matters and commissioners' comments. Commissioner Stevens?
No.
Commissioner McDonald?
no, I think a great meeting.
Commissioner Lick?
I would just like to say congrats to Courtney and, presenting this project and moving through the phases of this work. And I know, we're super excited to have you here and just great work on this. So thank you.
It's very kind, thank you.
And thanks to Katie for her presentation and Bridget for helping us be organized.
Making us all look good.
Yeah, making us all look good and keeping our screens on point. I appreciate that, Bridget.
Yeah, this is Courtney, this is your first televised meeting too. So last time we were in this room, it was Luann's goodbye, and now it's Courtney's hello.
Yes, Courtney's hello. I like that.
There is one other thing I'd like
Yes,
to
go
ask
ahead.
about, and probably bring it up, and I talked to you a little bit about we did have some funding in for purchasing fish for the 2 ponds, and we haven't been able to do it for the last 2 years. We had about $5,000 allocated for that. And we haven't been able to do it because of the fish availability from the farms that we were getting them from. So there may be fish available, don't know yet until April 1st. But if there's some way to do what we did before, I have an order in there for the last 2 years. We've had that order in. And they may be able to fulfill it. And we just would need to come up with the money for doing that. It's around $5,000. And I don't know, Courtney, you said maybe there's an amendment or something, because it's not in the budget now, but if there's a way.
She's getting deeply familiar with budgets, I'm thinking.
Getting better.
Amendments.
And amendments. Yes.
And I can work with you on that.
Yes, we can
and-
work together and we'll work with Mary if it, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Excellent. Okay, with that, our next meeting is April 16th at 4:30 in the Service Center, and I will adjourn this meeting, and I'll call it 5:30. And thank you all for being here, and
Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it.
smooth. Yeah, I'm really excited for those projects. I
Yeah.
can't believe we got thrown into that, but that's probably a great way to do that.
Oh, yes. And don't
Right off the
forget,
bat,
we're
right,
still
Katie?
not far. So
Yeah.